The morning sun rose slowly over the tall buildings of the big city, and the streets were already full of noise. Cars rushing, people moving fast, and voices mixing together. But in the middle of this noise walked a woman who looked different from the crowd. Her name was Anna, and her steps were slow and careful. Her shoes were old, her dress was plain, and her bag looked worn out, yet her eyes carried a light of hope. Because this was her first day at her new job, and she wanted nothing more than to work hard and change her life. Anna came from a small town far away, a place where people knew each other, where life was simple and money was always short. She grew up with little. She learned to be thankful for what she had, and she dreamed of a day when she could earn enough to give her mother a better life. Now that day felt close because she had finally found work in a big company, a company known for wealth, power, and endless opportunities. When Anna entered the tall glass building, she felt her heart beating fast. The lobby was shining, the floors polished like mirrors, and the workers looked sharp in suits and expensive shoes. Their laughter echoed as they passed. Their perfume filled the air, and Anna lowered her eyes, holding her bag tightly. She told herself she must be brave. She must not let fear show on her face. The elevator carried her up to the office floor, and when the doors opened, Anna stepped into a world she had never seen before. Desks lined up, computers shining, workers moving quickly, and a cold air of importance floating everywhere. But the moment some eyes landed on her, whispers began. Lips curled into small smiles, and then the mocking started. One woman leaned to her friend and whispered too loudly, saying, "Look at her shoes, are those even real leather?" Another laughed and said her dress looks like it came from a second-hand shop. Soon the laughter spread like fire, quiet at first, then louder. As more people joined in, Anna felt the heat rising in her face. Her hands shook as she placed her bag down. She wanted to disappear, to run back to her small town where no one laughed at her clothes. But she remembered her promise to her mother. She remembered the reason she came here, and she whispered in her heart, "Stay strong, Anna. Just stay strong." The manager walked past, a tall man with sharp eyes, and the workers quickly stopped laughing, pretending to type on their keyboards. Anna thought maybe she was safe now. Maybe they would leave her alone. But as soon as the manager disappeared into his office, the cruel whispers returned. One man threw a paperclip on her desk and said, "Maybe you can use this to fix your broken look." And another added, "I wonder how long she will last here." Not long, I bet. Every word cut into Anna like a knife, yet she refused to cry. She lifted her chin, forced a small smile, and began to work with all the strength she had. She sorted the files, she typed carefully, she followed instructions step by step, and though the others mocked, she showed no anger, no hatred, only quiet determination. But deep inside, Anna felt a storm. She wanted to shout at them, to tell them they were wrong, to remind them that respect does not come from clothes or shoes, but from kindness and hard work. Still, she held her silence, for she believed the truth would show one day, and she trusted that life has a way of turning things around. Later that afternoon, the office buzzed with new gossip. The workers whispered about the company's leader, the mysterious CEO, the man who owned not only the company but respect across the business world. No one had seen him for months, yet rumors said he was about to return. Some said he was harsh and cold. Others said he was brilliant and powerful. But all agreed on one thing: his arrival always changed everything. Anna listened quietly as they spoke, though no one included her in their talk. She wondered what kind of man this CEO might be. Would he even notice someone like her? Would he care about the laughter and the mocking that filled the office? Or would he be like the others, blind to the cruelty hiding behind polite smiles? The day dragged on. The whispers never stopped, and every laugh at her expense felt heavier than the last. Still, Anna walked out of the building that evening with her head high. Her steps slow but steady, she told herself again and again, "I will not give up, I will not let them win. Tomorrow will be a new day, and I will keep fighting for my dream." As the sun sank and the city lights began to glow, Anna did not know that her life was standing on the edge of a great change. She did not know that the laughter around her would soon turn into silence. She did not know that the very man who ruled the company, the billionaire CEO, was already making his way back, and his arrival would turn her pain into power, her weakness into strength, and her story into something no one in that office would ever forget. The next morning came quickly. The city moved fast as always, and Anna walked again through the crowded streets with her old shoes clicking against the pavement. She carried the same plain bag and wore the same simple dress, but her heart carried new strength. She told herself again and again that no matter what happened, she would not give up. She would not let the cruel whispers break her spirit. She would fight quietly with her hard work and her patience. When she entered the office, the eyes turned to her again. Some workers smirked, others whispered to each other, and once more the mocking began. One woman leaned back in her chair and said loud enough for Anna to hear, "Look who came back. I thought she would run away after yesterday." Another laughed and said maybe she is too stubborn to quit. Maybe she likes being our joke. Their laughter echoed across the room, and Anna felt the sting deep in her chest, but she said nothing. She sat at her desk and began to work with calm hands, her face showing no tears. But the cruel game had only begun. That afternoon, one of the workers walked over and handed Anna a stack of files. His smile fake and his tone sharp as he said, "The manager needs these right away. Make sure you deliver them fast." Anna took the papers with care. Not knowing the trap hidden inside, she walked quickly to the manager's office, knocked softly, and handed over the files. The manager flipped through the pages. His eyes darkened and his voice grew cold as he asked, "Who gave you these?" Anna froze, confused and scared. Because the files were all wrong. Numbers missing, names misspelled, entire sections blank before she could explain. The manager scolded her in front of everyone, his voice sharp and heavy, saying mistakes like this waste time. Mistakes like this cannot be accepted. Anna bowed her head, her hands shaking. The other workers tried to hide their laughter behind their hands, but the sound slipped out, a cruel chorus that filled the office. Anna realized in that moment that they had set her up. They had given her the wrong files on purpose, and now she stood humiliated in front of the manager and the entire floor. She returned to her desk quietly, her cheeks burning, her heart heavy, and her eyes filled with tears that she refused to let fall. She kept telling herself, not here, not in front of them. They will not see me break. She picked up her pen, forced her hands to move, and continued working as if nothing had happened. But inside her soul trembled. During lunch break, the others sat together laughing and whispering, their voices sharp knives cutting into Anna's silence. One man said, "I almost feel sorry for her, but not really." Another answered, "Maybe she should learn that this world is not for simple women like her. Maybe she belongs back in her small town." The laughter rose again, but Anna sat alone in the corner with her small lunch. Bread and tea. She ate quietly, her eyes fixed on the table, and though her heart wanted to cry, she whispered inside herself, "I will not leave. I will not let them push me out." As the day went on, more little tricks came. A chair pulled away when she tried to sit, her pen missing from the desk, papers hidden just before she needed them. Each time she found a way to continue her work, never raising her voice, never fighting back. Her silence confused some, but most only laughed more. Believing her weakness gave them power. Yet what Anna carried inside was not weakness. It was patience, it was faith, it was strength waiting for the right moment. She remembered her mother's voice saying again and again, "Storms will pass, the sun will come again. Do not give up, Anna, never give up." Those words became her shield, her quiet armor against the storm of cruelty that surrounded her. Later in the evening, the office filled again with whispers, but this time the whispers were different. A rumor spread quickly, carried from desk to desk. The CEO, the billionaire Alexander himself, was said to be returning soon. Some said tomorrow, some said next week. No one knew for sure, but the excitement grew. The same workers who mocked Anna now rushed to check their clothes, fix their hair, polish their shoes. They wanted to look perfect for the man whose name carried fear and respect across the business world. Anna listened silently as they spoke. She wondered what kind of man could hold such power, what kind of presence could change the air in a room without even being there. She imagined a man with eyes sharp as steel, a voice that made people tremble, and a heart that cared little for simple workers like her. Yet deep inside she hoped he might be different. She hoped that maybe, just maybe, he could see the truth that night when Anna left the building. The city lights sparkled around her. Her steps were heavy but steady, her heart still bruised but unbroken. She whispered once more to herself, "Tomorrow I will return. Tomorrow I will fight again. They may laugh, they may mock, they may try to crush me, but I will not give up, for every storm has an end. And maybe the end of this storm is closer than they think." What Anna did not know was that her silent fight had already caught unseen eyes. What she did not know was that the arrival of the billionaire CEO would soon bring a change so great that even the cruelest laughter in that office would turn into silence. And her story was only just beginning. The next day began with a strange feeling in the office. Workers rushed in earlier than usual, their shoes clicking against the polished floors, their perfume stronger, their clothes sharper, their laughter louder but nervous. Something was different and everyone could feel it. Whispers passed from desk to desk. Today might be the day. Today the mysterious CEO might return. The one everyone feared and admired. The billionaire Alexander. The man whose name alone carried weight heavier than gold. Anna entered quietly. Her plain shoes still worn. Her dress still simple, her bag still old. Yet her steps steady as always. She did not join the rush to look perfect. She did not fix her hair in the mirror like the others. She only told herself to work hard as she always did. To stay true to her promise. Though her heart beat faster with every whisper she overheard, was it true? Would she finally see this man whose presence ruled the company even from far away? The morning dragged slowly. Every sound seemed louder than usual. The click of a pen, the ringing of a phone, the nervous laughter of workers pretending to be busy. Everyone's eyes kept drifting toward the elevator doors, waiting for them to open, waiting for the moment that could change everything. Anna tried to focus on her papers, her hands moving carefully, but her ears caught every word. Some said he was harsh, some said he was brilliant, some even said he could destroy a career with a single glance. And though Anna stayed silent, curiosity grew inside her like a fire. Then it happened. The elevator bell rang, soft yet sharp, and the doors slid open. Silence fell instantly. Every head turned, every breath held, and from the shadows of the elevator stepped a tall figure. His suit dark as night, his shoes polished like mirrors, his face calm yet strong, his eyes sharp yet distant. It was Alexander, the billionaire CEO, and with every step he took, the room seemed to shrink. The laughter died, the whispers froze, and respect filled the air like a sudden storm. Anna lifted her eyes for only a moment. Her breath caught in her throat. She had never seen a man like this. His presence was not loud, not angry, yet it demanded attention without a word. He walked through the office slowly, his gaze moving from desk to desk, and the workers who had laughed at Anna the day before now straightened their backs, typing quickly, pretending to be busy, desperate to look important in his eyes. But when Alexander's gaze passed over Anna, something unexpected happened. He paused for a fraction of a moment. His eyes lingered on her plain desk, her worn bag. Her calm hands moving with quiet focus. Unlike the others, she did not rush to impress. She did not fake her work. She only continued with honesty. And for reasons no one could explain, Alexander noticed. His eyes softened slightly, then moved on. But the moment was enough to send a wave of confusion through the office. The workers exchanged quick glances, whispering quietly. Why did he look at her? Why did he stop? What did he see in the simple woman they all mocked? Anna felt her cheeks warm but kept her eyes down. She dared not think too much. She told herself it was nothing, just a trick of the mind. Yet inside her heart something stirred, a small spark of hope she could not understand. The day continued, but nothing felt the same. Alexander moved through the office, speaking little, asking sharp questions, his voice calm but firm. Every answer from the workers came with trembling lips, every mistake corrected with a sharp glance that cut deeper than words. Yet when he passed by Anna again, his steps slowed, his eyes falling once more on her quiet work. This time he said nothing, yet his silence spoke louder than their laughter ever had during the afternoon meeting. The workers filled the room, their smiles wide, their hands eager to show off their reports. But Alexander sat at the head of the table, his face unreadable, his presence heavy. He listened, nodded, asked short questions, and dismissed weak answers with a single look. The room trembled under his calm authority, and Anna sat at the far end quietly, unnoticed by most, yet his eyes drifted toward her more than once, subtle but certain. The workers began to sense it. Unease crept into their laughter. Doubt filled their whispers. Why was the CEO paying attention to her? What could he possibly see in a woman with no fashion, no shine, no pride? But they could not deny the truth. His gaze had lingered on her, and the thought alone was enough to stir jealousy and fear. When the day ended, Anna walked out of the building as always, her steps slow, her bag heavy, her clothes plain, but her heart carried a new weight. She had seen the man they all spoke of. She had seen Alexander, and though he had said almost nothing, the memory of his eyes meeting hers stayed in her mind like a secret she could not share. She wondered if it meant anything, or if it was only her imagination. She wondered if tomorrow would bring more silence, or something greater far above in his private office. Alexander stood by the window, looking out at the city lights, his mind busy with numbers and plans, yet a small thought remained, the image of a simple woman working quietly while others pretended. A woman mocked yet unbroken. He did not know her name yet, but he knew he wanted to know. And that small thought was the beginning of something none of them could have predicted. The morning air in the office carried a new tension. Workers rushed faster than ever, their voices sharp and filled with fake sweetness. They tried to catch every detail, every chance to be noticed by Alexander, the billionaire CEO. He had walked among them the day before, and his presence had shaken them to their very core. Now every worker wanted to shine. Every worker wanted to impress, but behind their polished shoes and practiced smiles was fear. For one mistake in front of him could end their future in the company. Anna entered quietly once more. Her shoes still worn, her dress still simple, her bag still heavy on her shoulder, yet her heart calm. She did not change for him. She did not paint herself with false colors. She only came to work as she always did. Yet she could not forget the way Alexander had looked at her. His gaze strong yet curious, lingering in a way that confused her. She tried to push the thought away, telling herself it meant nothing. He was a man of power, and she was only a small worker in a sea of faces. The morning passed with whispers. People rushing to complete tasks before Alexander arrived, their hands trembling as they checked their reports again and again. Anna worked slowly but carefully, her focus steady, her mind quiet. Then as she walked down the hallway carrying a stack of papers taller than her arms could manage, her foot caught against the edge of the carpet. The papers slipped from her hands and scattered across the floor like a storm of white. Her breath caught. Her face turned red, and she dropped to her knees to gather them quickly before anyone saw. But before she could collect even a handful, another hand reached down, strong and steady. Picking up the pages with ease, she froze, her heart racing. She lifted her eyes slowly, and there he was, Alexander himself, the CEO, kneeling beside her on the polished floor, helping her gather the papers as though he were no different than her. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Her voice stuck in her throat, for she had never expected such a man to bend down for her. The office workers nearby stopped in shock, their eyes wide, their whispers frozen on their lips. They had never seen him do such a thing. Never imagined the billionaire CEO lowering himself to help a woman they all mocked. Jealousy burned in their hearts. Confusion filled their minds, yet none dared to speak, for his presence alone silenced them. Alexander handed the stack of papers back to her, his eyes meeting hers with calm strength. He asked softly, "What is your name?" His voice deep yet steady. Anna swallowed hard and answered in a trembling tone, "My name is Anna, sir." He nodded slowly, his gaze thoughtful, then replied, "Anna, work carefully but do not be afraid of mistakes. Everyone makes them, only those who learn from them grow." His words carried weight heavier than gold, and though simple, they struck Anna's heart with warmth she had never felt in this place. She whispered, "Thank you," her voice almost breaking, and he gave the smallest hint of a smile before rising to his feet. He turned and walked away with the same power and grace as always, yet the moment stayed like a flame burning in the silence he left behind. The workers stared at Anna with eyes sharp as knives, their envy twisting their faces, for they could not understand why their powerful CEO had spoken kindly to her, why he had even bothered to help her, a woman they believed had no value. From that day, the whispers around Anna grew different. Some still mocked, but with less laughter. Some grew colder, harsher, their jealousy feeding their cruelty. Yet Anna felt something new inside her, a strength she had not known before. His words gave her courage, his kindness gave her hope, and though she still sat alone at lunch, she no longer felt as weak, for she now carried a secret moment in her heart, a memory of kindness from the most powerful man in the building. Later that afternoon, Alexander passed by her desk again, his steps slow, his eyes scanning the room. Anna kept her head down, her hands moving over her work, but her heart raced when his shadow fell across her desk. He glanced at her papers, nodded slightly, and moved on. The others noticed, and their hearts burned even more, the jealousy growing like a storm ready to break. They whispered among themselves, "Something is happening, something we cannot control," and their fear mixed with anger. As the sun lowered and the day came to its end, Anna walked out of the building as always, her bag heavy, her shoes clicking softly against the ground. But this time her heart was light. She replayed the moment again and again. The way he helped her, the way he spoke to her, the way he said her name. Anna. She whispered it to herself as though it were a dream, and though she tried to remind herself not to hope, not to imagine too much, she could not stop the small smile that touched her lips as she walked home through the city lights. Far above, in his private office, Alexander sat at his desk, his mind busy with reports and numbers, but his thoughts drifted more than once, drifting back to the simple woman with steady eyes and quiet hands, the one who did not chase him, did not pretend, the one who worked with honesty while others scrambled for his attention. And though he said little, he knew in his heart that she was different, and the difference had already caught him. The new day began with heavy clouds hanging over the city, the air thick as if the world itself held its breath. In the office, the workers rushed again, their faces painted with false smiles, their voices filled with fake energy. Everyone was preparing for the important meeting that would be led by Alexander, the billionaire CEO. It was said that he would listen to ideas for a new project, a project that could change the future of the company, and each worker dreamed of impressing him. Each one polished their reports and practiced their words again and again. Anna entered quietly as always, her old shoes carrying her across the shining floor, her plain dress moving softly as she walked to her desk. The others barely looked at her, except to smirk or whisper, their voices sharp with jealousy. Ever since the day Alexander had helped her in the hallway, their hatred had grown deeper. They could not stand that he had spoken to her kindly, that he had remembered her name. But Anna did not let their bitterness touch her heart. She sat down and began her work, calm and steady, whispering to herself to stay strong. When the time of the meeting came, everyone gathered in the large conference room, the table long and shining, the chairs lined like soldiers. The workers sat with nervous hands holding their files, their eyes darting toward the door, waiting for the moment he would enter. Then at last the doors opened and Alexander stepped in, tall and calm, his presence filling the room like a storm. Silence fell instantly, every heartbeat quickened, every hand trembled, and all eyes fixed on him. Alexander sat at the head of the table, his gaze moving slowly across the workers, his eyes sharp and searching. He spoke in a steady voice. "Today I want new ideas. This company cannot grow without vision. Do not waste my time with weak thoughts. Give me something worth listening to." His words struck the air heavy, and the workers rushed one by one to present their plans, their voices eager but trembling, their words polished but empty. Charts and slides filled the screen, yet none of it touched his interest. His face remained unreadable, his eyes cold as he dismissed each idea with a single shake of his head. Anna sat at the far corner, her hands clutching her small notebook. Her heart racing, she had written something simple. An idea born not from numbers but from watching carefully, from noticing the mistakes in the system. She had not planned to speak. She knew they would laugh at her, but as she listened to the others offering empty words, she felt something grow inside her, a fire that whispered, "You must speak. You cannot stay silent forever. This is your chance." Her hands shook, but she slowly raised them, her voice soft as she said, "Sir, may I share something?" The room froze. Every head turned toward her, eyes wide with disbelief. Whispers cut through the silence. What is she doing? Who does she think she is? But Alexander raised his hand, silencing the whispers, his eyes fixed on her. He said, "Speak," and the weight of his voice gave her strength. Anna stood slowly, her knees weak, her hands holding her notebook tight. She took a breath and began to explain, her words simple, her sentences clear. She spoke of the small problems she had seen in the workflow, the wasted time, the misused resources. And she offered a solution. Not grand, not shining, but real and practical. At first the others rolled their eyes. Some covered their mouths to hide their laughter. But as Anna continued, the room grew quiet. Her calm voice filled the space with truth they could not deny. Alexander leaned forward slightly, his eyes sharp but no longer cold, his face unreadable yet attentive. When she finished, silence filled the room like heavy air, and for a moment she thought she had failed, her heart sinking. But then Alexander spoke. He said clearly, "This is the first real idea I have heard today. Simple yet strong, practical yet visionary. Well done, Anna." His voice carried power. His words struck like lightning, and the room gasped. The workers who had mocked her sat frozen, their mouths open, their faces pale. unable to believe what they had just heard. Anna lowered her head, whispering a quiet thank you, her cheeks warm, her heart trembling. She could not believe the CEO had praised her in front of everyone. The rest of the meeting continued, but nothing felt the same. Alexander listened to a few more ideas, but his attention often drifted back to Anna. The workers noticed, and their jealousy burned hotter, anger twisting inside them. But they could not speak, for his word was final, his praise unshakable. When the meeting ended, the workers rushed out whispering and murmuring, their eyes filled with envy and fear. Some glanced at Anna with hatred, others with curiosity, but none could ignore her anymore. Anna walked out quietly, her steps steady, though her heart still raced. She had spoken. She had been heard, and she had been respected. For the first time she felt that maybe she belonged. Maybe she was not as small as they had made her feel. She thought of her mother back home, of the promise she had made, and her eyes filled with tears of pride, tears she held back until she was alone. That evening, as Alexander stood by his window looking at the city lights, he thought again of Anna, the simple woman who had spoken with courage, the woman whose idea carried truth while others chased empty glory. He knew now she was different. He knew now he wanted to see more, and he whispered her name to himself like a secret. Anna, a name that had begun to mean more than anyone could understand. The air in the office felt heavy with silence. The workers could not forget what had happened in the meeting. Their CEO had praised Anna, the simple woman they mocked, the woman they had treated like nothing. The words of Alexander echoed in their minds. This is the first real idea I have heard today. The truth burned in them like fire, and jealousy twisted their hearts. But no matter how much they hated it, they could not change what he had said. Anna arrived the next morning with the same plain dress, the same worn shoes, the same heavy bag on her shoulder, but something inside her had changed. She walked with a quiet strength, her head a little higher, her steps a little firmer. She remembered his words again and again, simple yet strong, practical yet visionary. Those words gave her courage, they gave her hope. And though the whispers still followed her, she no longer bowed under their weight. The office buzzed with talk about Alexander. Some said he would announce something important today. Others said he was looking for someone new to lead a major project. The workers sharpened their smiles, polished their reports, and prepared their voices, each one dreaming that maybe he would choose them, maybe they would rise. But beneath their hope was fear, fear that his eyes would once again return to Anna. When the clock struck noon, the workers were called into the large conference room again. The long table shone under the lights, the chairs filled quickly, and then the doors opened. Alexander walked in with calm steps. His presence filled the room. Silence fell at once, and everyone held their breath as he stood at the head of the table, his gaze steady, his voice deep as he said, "Today I will make a decision that will shape the future of this company." The workers leaned forward, their hearts racing, waiting for their chance. Waiting for his eyes to turn toward them, Alexander continued, "We will begin a new project, one that requires vision, honesty, and courage. I need someone to lead this, someone who sees not only numbers but also truth." The workers smiled wider, their hands clutching their papers, each convinced he would call their name, each certain they would finally gain his favor. But Alexander paused, his eyes swept across the room. He let the silence grow. Then his gaze stopped on Anna, his voice firm as he said, "Anna will lead this project. Her idea showed me what real vision looks like. She noticed what others ignored. She spoke when others stayed silent, and she worked with honesty instead of pride. From today she is the project leader." The room gasped. The workers froze, their faces pale, their hearts broken. Whispers exploded. How could this happen? How could he choose her? Some eyes burned with anger, others with disbelief, but none dared to speak against him. For his word was final, his choice unshakable. Anna sat stunned, her breath caught, her hands trembling. She thought she had misheard, but his eyes met hers and confirmed it. His gaze calm yet warm, his words clear. "Anna will lead." Tears filled her eyes. But she held them back. She stood slowly, her voice soft but steady as she said, "Thank you, sir, I will do my best." Alexander nodded once, a small smile touching his lips. Then he turned back to the room and spoke, "Let this be a lesson to all of you. True value does not come from expensive clothes or loud voices. True value comes from character, from hard work, from courage to speak the truth. Remember that the words cut through the pride of the workers. They lowered their heads, ashamed yet silent. The mocking voices that once filled the office were gone. Replaced by heavy silence, Anna sat down again, her heart racing, her mind still unable to believe what had just happened. She had been mocked, humiliated, treated as less than nothing, yet now she was chosen by the most powerful man in the company, chosen to lead where others had failed. When the meeting ended, the workers left the room quietly. No laughter, no cruel jokes, only silence and the weight of defeat. Some glanced at Anna with envy, others with respect, but none dared to mock her anymore. She walked out with her bag heavy on her shoulder, but her spirit light as the sun, for the storm she had endured was finally breaking, and a new dawn was beginning that evening. As she walked through the city streets, the lights glowing all around her, she thought of her mother back home. She imagined telling her the news. She imagined the pride in her mother's eyes, and her own tears flowed freely now. Tears of joy, of relief, of victory. She whispered to herself, "I did not give up, I stayed strong." And now everything is different high above in his office. Alexander watched the city with calm eyes, his mind full of numbers and plans. Yet one thought returned again and again, the image of Anna standing bravely, her voice soft yet strong, her heart shining with honesty. He knew he had made the right choice. He knew she was different, and deep inside he also knew this was not only the beginning of a project, but the beginning of something far greater, something that would change both their lives forever.